Okay, a time that I have been wrong, I would say, was when I was little and I grew up in a really religious household, and I went to a private Christian school from like pre-K up until I was 8 years old. And I think at the young age, I was under the impression that anybody who didn't go to church every Sunday or didn't go to a private Christian school were really bad people, or they were sinners, or just kind of like there was a huge difference in the type of people. And so I didn't realize that I was wrong until I was probably 8 years old, and we moved from California to Texas, and I went to a public school, which I liked, and I didn't notice any difference. Nobody seemed scary or dangerous like I thought. So I realized I was wrong there, and I didn't necessarily feel bad or good or anything like that. I more so felt very innocent, and I just couldn't believe that I thought that way for so long. And I think the reason why I felt that way, even though I loved my teachers at my private Christian schools, I think because they didn't really talk about not being religious. I mean, rightfully so. They were paid for to teach us about religion and stuff, but I think I didn't personally learn about the other side of life of people that weren't really religious or what that looks like. So I think that's why I kind of had that misconception and was wrong about that. And I think because of this experience, because I realized that I have always been very optimistic and open to people, I don't want to make that mistake again where I think, oh, because of this, like, that is the case for everybody, or a stereotype or anything like that. I've never latched on to stereotypes or believed in them. I've always had a very open mind and would give anybody a chance to see the kind of person they are, not just what their facts are about them. And how I respond to being wrong. Of course, nobody likes to be wrong, and I'd love to say that when I am, I apologize and fix it really fast. But I think it also depends situation to situation. Like professionally, if I'm wrong, I'm quicker to be like, oh, I'm sorry, and correct myself. Whereas in my marriage or in my family life with growing up with sisters, if I'm wrong, if they are telling me I'm wrong, of course I'm going to argue my point a little stronger because I'm more comfortable with them, and I think that's how it is with everybody. They're a little more comfortable to argue with the people they live with than people they work with. So, and then a social issue that I think is kind of a big problem is work ethic at workplaces and different generations coexisting in the workplace. And so I learned about this. I've realized this has been a problem since I started working at 17 years old, and I was working in department stores and retail, and it's big, especially in retail. There was a huge difference. There was people that were in their 60s and 70s still working at the retail store, those were the most loyal employees. They show up every single day on time or even early, and they took the initiative to do beyond what just their job description was. And whereas people my age, not me particularly, but people my age that I would see would get hired, they would be there for a week and then they'd give up. It was too hard, or they had too much anxiety, or they were too stressed or something like that. And then that would just only make the older generation more work on them, because there was not good employees being hired, and so then they would have a bad taste in their mouth about the younger generation. And I think vice versa, the younger generation coming in felt very intimidated by the older generation, and that's what gave them the bad taste in their mouth about the position as well. So I think part of the problem as well is my generation is very entitled when it comes to workplaces or careers or jobs or occupations or anything like that, because the upper hand has definitely shifted. And nowadays, I mean, I can look online and a million places are hiring, and they're hiring anybody and everybody they can get to the door. And so I think that is where the younger generations are feeling more entitled. They feel like, well, you're lucky that I am here and actually showing up to work, so what am I going to get in return? And whereas the older generation sees employees coming in with this entitlement, they don't understand that, because back when they were entering the workforce, when they were younger, it was a more competitive on the employee side. There was 4, 5, 10 people applying for their same job that they had to compete and make sure, they were, had the better resume, had the better experience, had better schoolwork and all of that. And so I think that is also where the lines are being drawn in the sand as far as the issues that the younger generations and older generations are having in the workplace. And I think the same reason is also why the younger generations aren't trying as harder at work, and they don't have as much accountability, and they feel like they can get away with a little more because the company that hired them needs them. They're all shorthanded. I mean, even if you go into a restaurant nowadays, you can see that as well, that, there's less people, less waitresses, less waiters, and all of that. So I think one way that it's kind of getting worse also is because, I don't know if this is just me, I feel like generations, like there's the Gen X and Gen Z and all of that, I feel like that is a bigger thing in the world than I remember it being. And I think, like, especially on social media and stuff, and I think that is causing more of stubbornness between generations. And I mean, I've been called out and about when I'm out with friends, or even at my workplace or anything like that. Oh, you're just a millennial, or oh, you're just a Gen Z, or you won't get this because you're so much younger. And I think because that is being talked about more in today's world and on social media, I think there's becoming more stubbornness as well in between the generations, like more stubbornness of whose generation is better. The younger generation are saying that the older generation are setting up, did things wrong, and now we're having to deal with it. And then the older generation is like, well, the younger generation is going to come in and screw everything up. So I think that's causing a more rift between the generations, as well as the large social media presence that generational talks and jokes have come about. So I think one way that we can kind of fix this issue is if companies and management and companies, especially larger ones, can maybe do some more training on it. And I know that sounds absolutely absurd, but I do think that maybe there just needs to be it talked about more in the professional place, because I think what's happening is people are going home and they're, like I said, going on social media, and they're seeing this, this video about this generation or this video about this generation. They're taking that into the workplace. And that's where I think also there needs to be more professionalism at the workplace as well, especially with the younger generation. I think they aren't coming in with as much professionalism, and they're bringing a lot of their problems into work, and that's just not working well for everybody at the workplace, I think. So I think there could definitely be more training, more classes, or just more literature on it that can help employees be able to coexist better between the generations in the workplace. And I think that will make a little bit of a difference. But when I learned about this when I was going to college, I watched a TED Talk on it, and it's just really a thing that is affecting definitely larger companies as well, because if there's not employees to work, they're not making money, and I think that's where we're also seeing it's going to snowball effect down to everyone. So That is all, and I've answered both questions.